Hi, my name is Brian Curtis, and I'm the founder of Decentralized Systems. And today I have Dr. Paul Daniels with me, a keynote speaker. Thanks, Paul, for showing up.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you giving me the honorarium of a doctor. I've done so much study that I feel like I should be at least a PhD, but I barely made it through undergrad and graduate school, so we'll stop there.
Where did you go undergrad and grad school, if I
Uh,
ask?
Undergrad was in Nebraska.
Okay,
Born and raised in Southern California. Family decided to move to Nebraska before I went to college, so it was University of Nebraska was kind of the only thing that was there. It's the only thing I could afford. Worked my way through college, and then I've done graduate studies at Harvard, Yale, and NYU, and a few others.
cool.
All of it is just kind of self-directed, things that I'm interested in.
Yeah, so what specific projects? Do you have a favorite specific project in any of those schools that you were a part of?
I got to tell you that the last course I took at Harvard, I know this will be great, was the finding, I think the title is Finding Longitude. And I took it because I'm really into new experiences and this whole thing of peripheral thinking, which we might talk about.
Sure.
But just all the moving pieces that went into creating an accurate longitudinal coordinate. Latitude is easy because they're spaced equally from pole to pole, but longitudes are kind of pie-shaped, right? And so
Yeah.
getting that longitude right requires an accurate timepiece, a good set of tools to see the position of the sun and the stars, more often the stars, and then speed, how quickly you're moving to track where you are.
Right.
And there's so many applicable lessons for business from that one quick course. I'd recommend it to anyone, especially if you can find it online.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I guess I could see how that would apply, just to make sure you know where you're going, where you're at, right?
Right.
You just need to make sure you have perspective every time you're
Right.
in order to make plans correctly, right? You can't make plans correctly if you don't know where you're at or where you're going.
Correct. And those micro adjustments that happen if you think of, someone that's well balanced. I surf. So there are things that I do while I'm surfing. I don't even think about my toes and my ankles, and my knees. They're just doing whatever they do because my mind is thinking about going over here or moving my body in this direction. And those micro adjustments happen every day in every business as we learn where we are now and how we are doing, and are we progressing in the right direction, or hey, that over there, that's really where I want to go. I didn't even know that it was there. Let's do a quick day trip and check out that island, and that may be our destination. We just didn't know about it.
Right. Yeah, and that brings up a good point, because a lot of times, I'll have a blindness and I need to make sure I'm reaching out to people and saying, because sometimes you're not seeing something and somebody will help you kind of get steered back in the right direction too.
Yep. Mentors and coaches, and just, confidants that you can trust, that will give you the truth, not what you want to hear.
Right. Yeah. I get that every once in a while too. I have a business coach who always tells me what I don't want to hear, but what I need to hear, right?
The unvarnished truth. Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And
like, they're worth every penny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about peripheral thinking. I know a little bit about it, but I'd just like to hear more.
Yeah. So it is a set of super skills that I developed having studied some of the world's most prolific innovators over centuries. Well, my studies weren't over centuries, though it felt like it. But just the innovators have been around, for centuries. And what I found that they have in common is their ability to challenge convention, find multiple paths to growth and innovation, and succeed regardless of the market conditions, recessions, bull market, bear market. didn't, whether they were in one part of the country, another part of the country, socioeconomic forces, regardless.
Right.
And to be able to do that, you need to be or become dyslexic, which is a bit of a shock for most people, but about 10% of the population is born with dyslexia. 20 to 30% of entrepreneurs and nearly 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. In fact, NASA actively recruits people with dyslexia. About 50% of staff at NASA are dyslexic.
Wow.
And some have called dyslexia the MIT disease because there are so many dyslexics at MIT. It's not a disease, it's a learning difference.
Right.
And what we found, the World Economic Forum released a research. I know this is a long answer to your question, but this gets you to peripheral thinking. So
Sure.
the World Economic Forum released a study called the Future of Jobs Report, and it outlined, it studied every industry and all the skills necessary for companies in each industry around the world to succeed in the year 2025 and beyond, because some of the skills that we have now that are in high demand are actually declining in their requirements as automated processing continues to grow, and AI and other things. There are other skills that are currently or have been in low demand that are absolutely critical for the success in the coming years. Of the top skills, the top 9 skills are cognitive skills, and 8 of those 9 skills are found innately within dyslexics. In essence, they don't even think about it; they just do it naturally, like my ankles and my elbows and my knees do as I'm surfing. It just moves. So I looked at that, and I looked across history and found people like Einstein, Henry Ford, Anne Bancroft, JFK, Richard Branson, Aaron Brockovich, Muhammad Ali, all these people that took their profession to a new level, in some cases created new industries, are all dyslexic. And these skills, we've unlocked the code to them. We know what those skills are, and peripheral thinking teaches those skills to people that are neurotypical as opposed to neurodiverse. So it's not, woo-woo and crazy stuff. It's very practical ways to look at the world and to find new ways and new perspectives, including proven solutions that are in some other industry, and adopting those in your industry, which I absolutely know is special. It's unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what your grandparent told you when they grabbed your cheek and said, "You're special. You're one of a kind."
Right.
I don't want to burst your bubble. Whoever's watching, you are special. Yes. Your industry is not so special that it cannot take a great idea or a proven solution from somewhere else and apply it immediately.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's multiple kinds of dyslexia, correct? I mean, it seems like in some ways I've been dyslexic in certain parts of my life, not necessarily reading, but just looking at everything just totally flip backwards from what everybody else is seeing. And it's just like, and it seems like you're right. It creates solutions, to things that people aren't seeing.
Right. Yes. So dyslexia, sort of clinically, there are varying degrees and forms of dyslexia. It's a learning difference. Primarily, it's an auditory and visual processing difference. We see things differently, and most often it's the inability to put letters together to create a specific sound, because either the brain is seeing them. My form of dyslexia is that, and my eye will take a word from sentences below or lines below and insert it into a sentence.
Right.
It's just training the eye. But what that also does is, as a young person being undiagnosed until I was 40, I had to learn from everything. So I would watch a lot of body language. I would cheat. I'll go ahead and say it now. I would cheat. I'd look at other people, like, what page are they on? Okay,
Right.
so I could at least get to the right page and try and find something, maybe a visual or a chart that they're reading about. And I took in every possible input to learn, which just expands your thought process that everything contributes. I don't have to just follow this one road. Anything can contribute. The dress shirt that I just got from the cleaners over there, the way that I'm just thinking out and out loud, the way they wrap that, before they hand it to you, and the sheet is perforated so that when you pull on it, it just tears off and off it goes. How easily do we create packaging like that? Do we make it easy for our clients that buy our solutions to easily take off the wrapping and implement and use immediately? Are there principles that we can take from just looking at my shirt hanging on the door there that can be applied today in your industry, even though I know you're special and you would never have, a one-day implementation when it's 60 or 90 days normally? But what if there was a way to do a one-day immediate use? What would that do for your business? How would that change it? So it's those kinds of fun conversations that lead to, well, here's how this industry does it. Now let's take that principle and apply it now. Not could it be, but how can you apply it? Not will you or could it be applied? No, it can be applied. Everything can be applied, but how will you apply it?
Yeah, even your day-to-day activities, right? How you
Absolutely.
go through your mornings, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I do keynote speaking, and I'll have people come up at the end of, a 60-minute talk or something, and they'll ask, how do I apply this? Or, we're really unique in that we do this, this, and this. Or I don't have time, Paul, I don't have time to go explore the world and go to Fiji and, 27 countries that you've served clients in. Right. I learned a ton. I still learn a ton from my friend Mike, who works at the Home Depot. That's 3 blocks from my house. And I go on Saturdays because he doesn't need to work. He works Saturdays and works in the hardware area. And I don't need any more nails or screws or bolts and nuts, but he's there and we just start talking. And I walk out every Saturday going, that's a really good idea.
Right.
We could do something. And every now and then I will have something, in the plumbing section, but I'll go to Mike and say, hey, Mike, do you know where I can find this in plumbing? Because on that walk over to plumbing, we'll talk. And then we get to plumbing and he'll say, you might be able to put these 2 things together and that thing from hardware to create whatever it is you're looking to try and, fix, Paul. And I'll walk out and go, ooh, another lesson.
I agree 100%. I have never met a person in my life that I spent more than 10 or 15 minutes with that I didn't learn something from. As long as you're paying attention to how they're viewing and how they're portraying themselves, that everyone has all this different kinds of information that they're constantly giving you. And as long as you're paying attention, there's a lot to learn from just about anybody. I've never met anybody I didn't learn from.
That's, Brian, that's like a mic drop. I can't top that. You're spot on. And it may be because you have a form of dyslexia. I don't know.
Probably.
Not all. And I'm not saying that you have to be dyslexic in order to use these skills. Some people have these skills already. It's heightening them and just being aware. You're right. I was wake surfing Tuesday night, and there were 3 other surfers in the boat, a captain and the instructor. And I just posted something on LinkedIn, I think yesterday. It had like 10 lessons I learned in 2 hours from 5 strangers. Right. All of them, I've already started to map out. You can't see my board here. I've already started to map out those 10 lessons on how I will apply them here in my company.
Right.
And we had, the worst part, we had a doggone good time. It wasn't like going to school. Yeah, it was terrible. It was, yeah, it wasn't like, trying to get a PhD or something. It was enjoyable. So ton to be learned from a lot of people from all over the world, including, in the back of a ski boat.
Yeah, I whitewater raft as a kind of a hobby. And I have met so many different guides and stuff on the river, and every single one of them does everything slightly different. Nobody ever does it exactly the same way. And it's really interesting to see how people, even with their body language and how they're communicating with other people on the boat as to what, if they want them to do something.
Yeah.
For me personally, I am less vocal, and it's almost like physically kind of, pushing and
Yeah.
it's everyone communicates differently, and you can learn from all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Life is fascinating. And for those of you that are watching that are facing a challenge that you just don't know how to get around or through, or your work doesn't seem to be as thrilling as you thought it would be, or whatever. My point is that everything you need to achieve anything you want already exists. The challenge you're facing now, the elements to overcome that challenge and build a stronger company that'll blow through challenges like that forever, they already exist.
Yeah,
When
just have to
Jake,
find the path.
yeah, it's so we're probably around the same age, and even if you're not, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Everyone remembers when JFK said, "We're going to put a person on the moon by the end of a decade," right? Back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, conventional wisdom and
61 or 62 or
aeronautics
something.
was like, "You're crazy, dude. What?" NASA said, "All right, let's get to work." And it was no pride of authorship. It was this big wide open door, threw a big net and said, "Anybody with ideas, we're taking all comers. Come on, bring it. We'll take whatever you need. Whatever you got, we'll take. And we'll just analyze and see how we can weave that technology with that material to make a helmet, or the spacesuit material, or heat shields, or or Tang, right? So
Oh,
we'll take
dang,
everything,
right.
right? We'll take it all." And they achieved something that had never been done before. And now we all reap the benefits of that. Solar panels, water filters, running shoes, cordless power tools, all that stuff came because one person had a vision and was confident that we could do it, because the elements are out there. We just need to combine them in unique ways, and it's done.
Yeah, and it seems like, just like my program, I love unlocking the power of groups, and I always thought that if I can inject an idea into a large enough group and just let that idea get perfected in a large enough group, then it can become something that I could have never done myself, because
Yeah.
there's so many different perspectives out there that, if you're working together in a large enough group, you can pretty much do anything
Yeah.
as long as you're working together and believing in each other and believe you can do it.
And right. Yeah. Giving people license to think out loud and take it back, to throw things out, no judgment, just let it settle, and play the yes and game. Yes, I like that. And if we added to that, yes, and we look at it from this perspective, yes, and
Exactly.
and what if, those are great things. Do you have like a favorite story that you tell about working in a group, kind of throwing something out there and seeing how it was better than the telephone game when it came back to you, and you're like, it's not what I said. It comes back, and the group comes back with something that is just stellar.
Yeah, I'm sure I've witnessed something like that before, and I probably didn't log it correctly. But I have
Yeah.
I have worked in a lot of groups where, we all came up with solutions. My favorite one is I worked on a wind farm, probably, I guess it's been 16 years ago,
Yeah.
and I ended up getting put in charge of the line department. I was just a regular electrician, but we didn't have any linemen available,
Yeah.
and none of us had done that job before. So we had, 45 electricians working, doing line work, and none, and my boss came to me and he said, "Well, here's the manual for putting together all these elbows and, doing all this high voltage work. You need to learn this a week and train it to your guys so we can get to going." I was like, "Okay, that's what we'll do."
Yeah.
And we got the job done. None of us had done it before, but
Yeah.
between all of us, we came up with a good working technique, and we got it done.
Yeah.
We made our deadline on date, and if we would have been
Wow.
one day late, it was a couple $1 million for the company. So
Wow.
I was really proud of that project, but I relied on a lot of other people too. It wasn't me, you know.
And they relied on you,
Exactly.
right? So everybody relies on each other, and they take whatever you're bringing to the table. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, yep, we'll take it. Yeah. Yeah. I love those. I love those stories, and I love it when you've got that kind of hyper focus where you don't have time to critique someone's presentation skills. You got
Right.
stuff to get done.
Yeah.
You may not have said the right word. We get it. Keep going.
Right. So what's one of your favorite stories along those lines? Do you have any really interesting runs where you've input an idea and all of a sudden it just came back and became something totally different that was just amazing or that you didn't even think of?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have some. And our son is a film student at UCLA. He's finished his studies at UCLA Film. And so he and I are doing some 5-minute videos about sort of how I've used the different skills within peripheral thinking or the dyslexic counterparts throughout my career at certain times. And one of the stories is in the book that just released called Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Entrepreneurs. I wrote chapter 8, but the story is about a goal that was set that was 10x the goal of what my team had accomplished the year before. And it was the same number that was accomplished, my team had accomplished the year before. The number that was given to me was larger by a factor of like 3 for the global organization. So it had never been done before. And I basically thought they were trying to get rid of me. It's like, here, we'll give you a 10x increase in what your objectives are for the next year. And using peripheral thinking, and I learned some new things by looking at land with my wife. We were out shopping, buying some land, trying to buy some land in North Texas, and I learned some new real estate terms from a gentleman. I won't give it away in case people want to buy the book. But at the end of the day, I applied that and met the goal in 6 months instead of 12 months.
Wow.
And exceeded it by another 30%. There's just so many odds. The odds were stacked against me, and even my colleagues on the senior leadership team were like, he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna make
Yeah.
it. And I came back. Here's the idea that I have. Here's what I'm going to do. Oh no, nobody's ever done that. No one has ever done that in our industry ever. No. I said, okay, fine. Look, I'll do it on nights and weekends by myself. I won't even take any resources. But if I can get this, then I want the resources. Okay. I mean, if you can get that, like if you can even get a meeting, good luck.
Right.
Got a meeting, came back with a letter of intent in the second week of January, and the deal was closed by June 3rd or 7th, June 7th. So in 6 months, we closed $220 million of $150 million quota that should have been $15 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
all those different ideas popping around. I never would have thought of, this first right of refusal that's used in, real estate as the impetus and inspiration for how we would innovate and change the way we went to market. And it changed the trajectory of that company. By billions.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah. For the details, buy the book. I think it's like $2 on Kindle. So, I mean, if you got an extra,
Well, it sounds like it's a worthwhile read though, because it explains just the process of how you get to those results. That's the more important part, is thinking outside the box, right?
Right. So Eric Severson is the coordinator of this. This is the second book in this current 3-book series, and he's written tons of books before. And he just got 24 people from all different walks of life to write a chapter on a skill that they believe is a good mindset tool for an entrepreneur. And in my case, it's an entrepreneur and for business in general.
Sure.
And it's fascinating to read through some of it. I don't get everybody's perspective, but those 24 chapters were pretty enlightening.
That sounds
Chapter
like
8 was okay.
Yeah, I'll have to what's the title of the book?
Oh, it's hang on a second, I'll grab it. It's called Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Entrepreneurs.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to read that one. Because,
Yeah.
Reading 24 chapters written by 24 different people sounds
Yeah.
really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the book.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a great time. And now we're doing a little quick book tour, a group of us, and we're going to do some free speaking to help promote by the way, I make no money on the book. All the proceeds go to Eric and to his philanthropies. So
Awesome.
none of the authors are making money on the books. It's just our way of giving back. Hey, this is the way I think. If that's helpful, take it and run with it. It's all yours.
Oh yeah. Yeah, before we started this recording, we were talking about our daughters and
Yeah.
how proud we are of their achievements, for thinking outside the box. And they're just, they're both dyslexic, but they're also they're performing at a high level. So
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
it's just great to see, you know, and
Absolutely.
it's more of a gift actually, when you think about it, because
It absolutely is.
yeah,
Absolutely it is. And again, I mentioned the World Economic Forum. Ernst and Young took that study that the World Economic Forum did. They were the ones that identified 8 of the top 9 skills. By the way, those 9 skills in highest demand have the lowest number of workers in the workforce with those skills to meet the demand. So it's not about gosh, maybe we should try this. It's we need it in order for any company in any industry to succeed in the year 2025 or beyond. You got to have this now. There's not enough dyslexics in the world to fill the need. So we've got to teach people these skills. And there's a group in the UK called Made by Dyslexia. Kate Griggs is the founder and director there, and she is an advocate for helping identify dyslexics early in life. Richard Branson is a major contributor to her group, and Microsoft as well. Microsoft has provided software specifically to help teachers identify dyslexic, not to teach them, just to identify them. And they've offered that and the training for free.
wow.
So anyone around the world that wants to learn about it, Microsoft's got software and a training program that you can do in a week or whatever during the summer, free, just to help progress it. So Kate Griggs and Made by Dyslexia is kind of doing the ground up, and I'm kind of doing the top down. I'm teaching leaders. Here are the skills that help you be disruption proof and succeed anytime, anywhere. And we're going to meet in the middle somewhere, so that our daughters and their friends that aren't dyslexic all have a shot at just performing to their strengths at their very best.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that that's the most needed thing, because you really need somebody else with a different perspective, because if everybody's looking at the same path, there's so many other paths out there.
Right.
You really need somebody else to see the other paths so that you can, make things work. If you're just running down the same path every day, then you don't have much growth, right? Growth stalls.
Yeah, 100%. And teaching yourself to find those paths. Right. So, conventional wisdom and industry best practices are often defined by that industry's leaders and subject matter experts. And it's well-intentioned, no question. But without broad set of perspectives, it can be from a narrow set of viewpoints. When you expand your perspectives and you gather input from other people, not about your challenge, just gathering input, like the 10 lessons that I learned in the back of the ski boat on Tuesday night.
Right.
When you get those and you have an open mind and you ask, how can I apply this, instead of, well, that was really interesting, I enjoyed meeting those people, I had a lot of fun. Those are 2 different experiences. One is just for fun, and the other one is fun and learning. When you can do that yourself and then teach others to do that, the sky is the limit. I know I keep rambling. I've got one last point. I'm so passionate about this. So all of my friends that run masterminds, myself included,
right,
you run masterminds, and I completely, I love it. I love being part of masterminds. I love leading masterminds. When I go and speak with masterminds, often I'll listen to what's going on, and then I throw out this turd and say, you don't have enough perspectives. Oh, we've got plumbers and we've got bankers and we have, right. but you're all giving each other pretty much the same advice.
Hmm.
The group that once was, from a lot of perspectives, have homologated. Is that the right word? Become
Amalgamated,
similar.
yeah.
Yeah. So when I tell people, you need to get new perspectives, it's not just, talking with your friends on LinkedIn or joining another group. You need to go way out. You need to go and find a baker in Bulgaria and learn from them. And that was part of my keynote speech. And somebody asked me, well, who do you know in Bulgaria? And I said, well, I was just doing an alliteration. But by the end of the week, I'd found Ivan, who is in Bulgaria, and we are connected. And we talk about every 3 weeks. We have to use a translator. But I've learned a ton. He's got 6 bakeries in Bulgaria. And my comment was, what does a baker in Bulgaria have in common with a foundry outside of Philadelphia? Right? Nothing really. And what does a movie theater in Malaysia have in common with a distribution center in Denver? Nothing really. Okay, well then
You're
what
just
does
looking
a
at the
flu?
product.
Yeah, well, and then what does a flu in China have to do with unemployment around the world? Again, conventional wisdom saying nothing. Peripheral thinking, and now everyone else is saying, oh wait, okay, that whole pandemic thing, I get it now.
Hmm.
Well, we're still getting it. We dyslexics have predicted stuff like this and have been prepared for that forever.
Right.
The company grew 50% between April and December of 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, just because I'm not looking at the same way everyone else is. I'm looking, there's opportunities here to serve people and help, and it just explodes.
Right.
Thank you for letting me ramble a bit.
Well, it falls in line with kind of everything that I go through, right? I mean, everything I'm implementing now is all, new ways of looking at things and new ways of making decisions. And, even these live videos I start doing at noon is just new ways of looking at reality. I mean, we get taught the same thing over and over and over in schools, but if you just keep finding new ways to look at stuff, then it can change your perspective, and that's all I want. I want to hear people's other perspectives too on what I'm bringing out. So um,
Yes.
I think everyone grows that way, right? Constantly going through that
Yeah.
process.
And we find a lot more commonality as human beings. We find joy in our differences, and
Yeah.
we're more likely to come together on a common goal than find differences that divide us. Again, going back to the ski boat, I'm a relatively outgoing person, but I'm very much an introvert. So meeting new people, I'm not all the one that's out there shaking hands and stuff. I'm gregarious when the lights come on the camera,
Right.
and then I need time by myself to kind of rejuvenate. But just meeting these people was fascinating, and the new insights and our common connections. Like Ashley, she spent 3 years in San Diego, just 10 miles from where I grew up. And we talked about the same surf points, but she's 100% a different industry, in charge of projects and staffing across multiple industries. And so I got to ask her, so what's that like when you're working with a tech company, and then you're working with the services industry, and you're working with an airline? And she shared some stuff, and that's one of the lessons that I wrote down. Like, oh yeah, good point. We can do that.
Right. Yeah, I think we could talk about this subject all day long, right?
Hopefully it's not boring for the folks. Yeah, here's my final statement for everyone that's listened to me for too long.
Oh, it's not too long, definitely
Yeah,
not.
genuinely. If you got that challenge and you just need to figure a different way to look at things, of course, Brian and I, we're here. We're glad to help. But if you can just absorb this and take this as truth and switch your mind slightly, I believe you'll see things differently. Knowing that there are more answers. Take this as a truth. There are more answers than questions. However many questions you have, there are more answers to that question than you need even. There are more choices than the challenges you face. So there's not just one way of doing it. There are more paths than there are problems. this problem may be in your way, but there are paths around it, and there are paths to new destinations that are even better than where you were going. And there are more opportunities than obstacles. And that's not just rah-rah. That's 40 years of doing this. I left home at 18. I was left by myself and my sister when I was 5 because both my parents worked, and we just had to figure stuff out. So there's a lot out there that you may not see, and all it takes is you just looking in a different direction and asking, what can I learn from that? Now, how can I apply that to fill in the blank? My life, my business, my relationships, my addiction to watching video podcasts, whatever that is.
Well, and then life becomes an adventure too, right? Because now you're opening up new pathways all the time. I mean, if I were to tell you 6 months ago that I was going to be doing podcasts and live videos at noon by trying to start a software business, I would have told you that is totally crazy. But it's just like, it just seems like things open up and just like, okay, let's just do that then, right?
Right.
And then that's what you do, right? You just
And that's not shiny object disease. That's not just taking your eye off the ball because this is the latest new cool thing. You thought it through and you went, yeah, actually, this does make sense. This is complementary to what I'm doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'm pulling ideas from as big a group as I can. Right. I mean, it's there's
Brilliant.
nothing that I can think that is better for what I'm doing. Yeah.
Brilliant. And yeah, I wish I'd have thought of that. And you'll go ahead and skip through this one, and you get to the next guest that actually has something significant to offer to you. But that's a brilliant idea. That's an awesome business model. Richard Branson has made his entire life is that. If you look at Richard Branson, that is exactly what he does. He started a magazine he dropped out of school at 16, and he started a magazine. Funny, a dyslexic starting a magazine called Student. But what does he know? What does that have to do with music or airlines or cruise ships or health insurance, health clubs? They've got 65 companies, 40 of them under the Virgin brand, something like, I don't know, tens of thousands of employees. Wow. Talk about a rich brain trust.
Yeah,
to
that's
tap
awesome.
on anybody and get that content. So what you're doing is 100% right. If you're going to follow a model that seems to have been pretty successful for that guy in England.
Right.
What's his name? Mr. Branson. Yeah. Sir Richard Branson.
Sir Richard Branson. Yeah. The name's familiar, and I know I've seen some of his content, but it's been years.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long time though.
Yeah. And he's one of the few that have done the space launch thing. SpaceX, and then there's the Virgin Galactic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the difference is, instead of two billionaires fighting to see who can go higher, Branson's taking that and applying it to other businesses and to philanthropies and furthering causes throughout the world to bring people together instead of just saying, hey, look, I'm weightless.
Right. All right. Well, Paul, I think we probably should shut her down. I mean, people start losing their attention span here after a while, right?
No question. Hopefully the editors can take care of that.
Yeah. But I love talking to you. I hope we can keep in touch, and I'd love to talk to you again sometime. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and I love what you're doing, and huge supporter. So you can count on me to continue to support you. And if anything I can do to help you or your audience, hey, find me and let me know. I'm happy to help anytime, anywhere.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, my pleasure, brother.
So have a good day.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.